Alright guys, today we are going to learn how to tap dance. Wait, that's the wrong video. Today guys, we're going to learn some really cool finger tapping methods that you might not be aware of, and that's going to make your guitar solos sound much cooler and much more captivating. I'm going to share 3 finger tapping methods with you that are kind of outside the box, if that makes sense. And they're these little things that utilize the finger tapping technique, but they're just kind of subtly thrown in there, and then we're going to pull it right back out. And what this is going to do is going to make your kind of okay and maybe even good guitar solo sound like, holy crap, what did that person just play on guitar? I heard that little thing in there. I want to know what that is. So that's what this video is all about. On that note, no pun intended, hang around till the end of the video because I'm going to share some other important lead guitar playing techniques that's going to help you take your solos even further to that next level. So hang around for that. The first finger tapping method I want to share with you is an extremely simple method, and it's what I call the one tap method. And I literally just made that up, but you'll see why in a second. And here's why. I'll play that again. All I'm doing here is, let's just start with the notes on the G string, that second time, that last half of that. I'm bending the 7th fret, okay? We're on frets 5 and 7 on the G string. So just a regular bluesy type bend, and I can't believe I'm even playing a bluesy type note, but maybe it doesn't sound so bluesy. Anyway, just that really cool, let's call it a wicked bend. Now, once we land on that 5th fret, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm actually going to pull off that 5th fret to the open G for just a split second. Then I'm going to come back down, hammering back down on that 5th fret, then hammering down on the 7th fret. Then finally, I'm going to be finger tapping to hammer down on that 9th fret. And I'm ending on that 5th fret. I think the first time I did that, I ended on the 7th. It really doesn't matter. It's the technique that counts, so that's what I want you to grasp here. But let's start from the beginning, because I played something going into that, and hopefully I can remember what that was. But yeah, okay, I remember now. Really, it was just those same frets on the D string. Yeah, so I'm starting on that 5th fret on the D string, and I'm just kind of sliding up to the 7, and then we go over to the G string and basically playing those same frets there with that bend on the 7. And again, once we get back to that 5th fret on the G string, we're pulling off to open string, just going all the way up, 5, 7, 9. And then once I tap, or once I hammer onto a hammer-on tap, whatever we want to call that with the first finger or whatever finger you use for tapping, once I pull off, I'm going to land back down on that 5th fret. Again, it doesn't matter what fret you land on. It could be... It doesn't matter. I just want you to grasp, again, the technique, the method here that we're talking about. Now, the second finger tapping method I want to share with you kind of has this like classical music vibe to it almost. So I'm going to play this for you, and then I'll break it down and show you what I'm doing here. Alright, so we're playing this on 2 strings, the last 2 strings, the B and the E, and really the frets that we're playing on are exactly the same between the 2 strings. Of course, you can always expand on these little licks that I'm sharing with you and make them your own. I encourage you to do that, but the frets we're playing on, let me just call those out real quick. So we're going to be on 7, 8, 10, and 12. And the 12th fret is actually the fret that we're going to be tapping. That's the only fret you'll be tapping between those 2 strings. So what I'm doing here, I've got my fingers in place, and the first note that we're actually going to be like hearing here is going to be that 10th fret on the E string. I kind of start out with a little pull off, and of course we'll do this on the next exercise as well that you'll hear, but we're going to kind of just pull our finger off the fretboard here to start it. And then we're immediately going to tap that note. Does that make sense? So we're not starting out here. We're just pulling it off so that we can hear that note on the 10th fret. and immediately we're gonna tap. All we do once we start that is we just get into this little rhythmic pattern here, and part of that pattern is really just tapping that 12th fret in between the rest of the notes that we're going to be playing. So let's tackle the notes on that E string first. So you see how I'm doing that? I'm starting out, then I'm tapping 12, then you'll hear 10 ring out, then I'm tapping 12 again, then you'll hear fret 8, and I'll tap 12 again, and then you'll hear fret 7. So just practice that for a little bit. If you need to pause the video real quick, just practice going back and forth with those notes between the notes and the tapping note there. Hopefully that made sense, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So the next part of this lick is really just the same exact thing on the next string. The only difference is I come back up onto that 8th fret there. So it's really simple if you just kind of break it down, just kind of digest it in your head there, that really the rhythmic pattern is just going back and forth between tapping that 12th fret and the other notes that you're playing. As we're going, the one challenge you might encounter is as you're going from the E to the B string, and really the best tip that I can give you on that is don't even think about it. And it might sound a little rough at first, but just don't overthink that part. Just watch me do this here. As soon as I'm letting that E string note, that 7th fret on the E string, as soon as I let that note just ring out a little bit, I'm immediately bringing my first finger back over to the B string to start on that 12th fret. So let's watch that one more time. Now for the third and final finger tapping method that makes your finger tapping sound way cooler, and this is probably one of my favorites because we're using the technique sparingly. We're using the finger tapping sparingly here. We're just going to use it a little bit, and then we're going to pull it right back out, and then we're done with it. And to me, that's just more captivating to hear in guitar solos instead of just a bunch of tapping, if that makes sense. I'll talk more about that after this little lick here. So let's learn this lick. I'm going to play it for you, then we'll break it down. Pretty cool. So what we're doing, we're on the E string, and what I like to do is I like to kind of have my fingers already in place on the 12th and the 15th frets there, kind of just ready to go. However, that third finger is ready, but the first note we're actually going to hear, the first note that's actually going to be played is the 12th fret. We're going to do a little pull off the fretboard here with our first finger, or whatever finger you're comfortable tapping with. It really doesn't matter. Now you notice I'm placing my finger around the 19th fret, which we're going to be tapping this fret in a little bit here, but I'm not actually tapping it. Doesn't sound like that. You're hearing the 12th fret. And I'm just doing a little pull off. It's almost like you're flicking a sticky booger. I know that's a horrible analogy, but it's all I came up with. It's all I got. All right, anyway, so that's how we're getting that little riff started there, the little lick started. All right, so we're going to pull off. Then we're going to do 12, hammer down to 15, and then we'll tap 19. So it's like this. What we're doing at that point, at 19, we're going to slide that tapping finger up a half step to the 20th fret. And then back down. Once we do that part, that's kind of like the part one of this little lick here. Part two is a bit more easier, and we're going to be practically doing the same thing, but you'll be tapping on the 17th fret instead of the 19th fret. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so let's kind of go through that. I'm going to try to go through this slow. Forgive whatever string noise you might hear. Okay, here we go. So which of the 3 finger tapping methods was your favorite, and which was the most challenging? Again, we're kind of just like throwing these little bits in there and then pulling them right back out, and sometimes that kind of stuff can be more difficult to play than just full-on tapping or shredding or whatever the case may be. Sometimes just putting those subtle little things in there can be a bit more challenging, but I think it's worth it to practice these and get good at these little nuances that you can just throw in your solos and then just bring it right back out of the picture there. So let me know what your favorite and most challenging method was of the 3 that we just went over. Now let's talk about playing guitar solos in general here. I want to give you some things that can really help you take your guitar solos to that next level, and I don't mean in a sense that you're playing faster or shredding or anything like that. I mean you're playing notes that's truly captivating the listener and really just kind of pulling them into this story that you're telling with your guitar solos. And that's just it. Your guitar solo is supposed to tell a story. It's supposed to take that listener on a journey. Sometimes that may involve some shredding. Sometimes that may involve something like a sweep arpeggio or a lot of finger tapping, okay? But it's probably not going to involve that all the time or for too long of a time, if that makes sense. In other words, you don't want to play a guitar solo and then all you do is just tapping along the whole solo. It's like, okay, we know you can tap. What else can you do? Now, every now and then you might have a small solo in a song that does just kind of like shred it up on one technique, and that's okay, but then you'll want to make sure that the other solo you have in the song maybe does something a little bit different. In other words, you don't want to play the same type of stuff over and over and over again, even when you're shredding, and especially when you're finger tapping. And I guess finger tapping kind of falls into that shred category, in my opinion at least. Let me know if you feel differently in the comments below. With tapping, you can play some really fast guitar solos and some really fast licks. And I don't necessarily want you to hold back, but I kind of do want you to hold back a little bit. I don't want you guys, and myself included, to become so obsessed with one technique and one way of playing that that's all your solos do. That doesn't tell a captivating story. That doesn't take me on this really awesome journey to go somewhere I've never been before. It only takes me down the path of pretty much what every other shred guitarist is doing out there and has been doing for decades. And again, it's cool. And it's even better to watch, I guess, when you're seeing somebody do it. It's enticing, but from a listener perspective, maybe it doesn't sound that great all the time. So know when to put these little techniques in there, just like the 3 finger tapping methods that we went over in this video here. We kind of snuck these little bits and pieces in, then we pulled them right back out, and those are the types of things that just wow the listener, like, oh, what was that? That was cool. Just those little bitty things, those little bitty nuances in there. It's like, and you pull it out, and then, whoa, what just happened? They don't know, because then you've already gone back to some melodic part of the guitar solo at that point, and maybe you throw another bit and piece in there at another time. You're like, hey, what's that person doing on guitar? That sounds really cool. So it just kind of like grabs the listener's attention, and it adds to the story instead of making the story just this boring tale that, again, every other shred guitar player is playing. So it's like, okay, we know you can shred, we know you can play well, but what else can you do? I'm not really hearing any melodies. I'm not really hearing, anything else except for just a bunch of fast notes. You're not taking me on a journey. We're not going anywhere with this. So I just want to throw this out there to you guys. And then if you guys feel differently about this, please feel free to leave those in the comments. Just because I'm talking about certain things and have certain viewpoints on guitar playing, it doesn't mean I'm right. I'm not a narcissist. I don't think that Jason's right about everything, but I do think these points will help you, and that's what these videos are really all about. It has really nothing to do with me. This is about you and just helping you become a better guitar player. I really feel like when you learn to just throw these little things in here and there and then pull them back out, I really do feel like that's going to entice your audience, entice whoever's listening to you play guitar. Because remember, again, it's one thing to scroll through social media or go somewhere to see somebody play and see them shredding it up, and that looks cool and it's great, but it's a different scenario when you're sitting back and just listening to music and hearing it, right? again, when you're just listening to music, you want to be taking on that journey. I know I keep bringing this up, but I think it's imperative because that's what the song is all about. It's all about taking you to this really cool place, okay, that maybe even it doesn't exist, but hey, it exists in your head because of the song, and the song brings that to life, and the solos and everything within it. So I hope this made sense, guys. Remember, you can download my practice guide. I've got a free Metal Riffs and Licks practice guide. There's a link in the description of this YouTube video. There are more links in there as well to go listen to my music and to buy my merch, like the shirt I'm wearing now. This is my shameless plug, and my Keep It Metal mug, which is cool. I use this thing every day. Is that coffee? No, it's cold coffee. Anyway, guys, there are links in the description of this YouTube video for all those great things, and I will see you on the next video. Until then, keep it metal.